Good morning. These are your BYU-Idaho Radio morning headlines for Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. Thanks for listening. I'm Noah Allen. In just 7 days, Idaho voters will see several names on the primary ballot for governor of Idaho. Libertarian candidate Paul Sand will find his name on the ballot for a second time. Austin Pace has the story.
Libertarian voters will find a familiar name on the ballot during the May 19th primary. Paul Sand is running for governor for the second time in his political career.
I was on the city council in Whitburn for 10 years, and I wanted to move up the political scale. And as a libertarian, it was fairly easy to get on the ballot for 2022. So I was actually the libertarian primary victor in 2022 for governor of Idaho.
When most people think about political parties, they often think of Republican and Democrat, not knowing there are several other parties and candidates to consider.
Libertarianism is more like standard republicanism than republicanism is nowadays.
Sand says libertarian policies are all about small government, which is one of his main priorities if he's elected governor.
I would allow counties to opt out of being involved in the state government entirely and self-rule themselves and set their own taxes and their own programs and whatever. At the same time, I would reduce the size of the state government down to just the absolute essential minimum entities necessary to actually run a functioning government without any of that political nonsense that goes off on the side of the legislature and the Senate in the state.
Sand also wants to fix what he defines as the polarization of the political situation.
I define this polarization as the difference between rural and urban politics. And the problem is that rural politics can't get anything done because the voters are all urban. And all the representatives do what the urban people want.
Registered Idaho voters will find Paul Sand's name on the Libertarian primary ballot on May 19th. For BYU-Idaho Radio, I'm Austin Pace.
BYU-Idaho is working on a research project of national magnitude this summer. Jack Esplin has the story.
In collaboration with the Smithsonian Institution, BYU-Idaho will celebrate the Lewis and Clark Expedition and 250 years of independence in America this year by setting up cameras around the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail to conduct research. The Smithsonian, the world's largest museum organization, reached out to around 50 universities across the United States, including BYU-Idaho. The goal of the nationwide project is to do research surrounding the many types of wildlife on the Lewis and Clark Trail and to collect data on how it has changed and evolved since Lewis and Clark first traveled on it. The Lewis and Clark Trail spans just shy of 5,000 miles, but BYU-Idaho will oversee a section of just a few miles near Salmon and Leodore, Idaho. Michaela Hilobuk, president of the Fisheries, Range, and Wildlife Society on campus, says BYU-Idaho's section offers exciting research opportunities.
The area we have staked out is still pretty wild. It's a rural area and no one really lives out there. So we have a higher likelihood of finding a lot of those animals that Lewis and Clark would have actually seen. We have a pretty cool spot.
The university will deploy 10 motion sensing cameras on its section of the trail to gather photos of any activity starting in June. BYU-Idaho's group will be composed primarily of volunteers from the Fisheries, Range, and Wildlife major, but any students are welcome to help comb through the thousands of photos that will be taken. They'll have chances to see animals like bears and pronghorn.
Because Lewis and Clark, they were the first to find pronghorn in the western U.S. So if we find something like a pronghorn or another species that was special like that they first encountered, then that would be amazing for this research project. And that's really what we're hoping to find.
Hilobuk says it's a historic project.
Something on this magnitude has not been done. Just the fact that this has such an impact on history. Maybe we don't see the same animals they saw, or maybe we will. There's just so much that 250 years worth of data is pretty wild.
The project will continue through October, and all data will be presented and featured in the Smithsonian in 2027. For BYU-Idaho Radio, I'm Jack Esplin.
These have been your BYU-Idaho Radio morning headlines for May 12th, 2026. Thanks for tuning in. More news, interviews, and great content are available on our podcast feed. Just search for BYU-Idaho Radio on your favorite podcast apps. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and more. For BYU-Idaho Radio, I'm Noah Allen.